Should we teach our kindergartners poker? No, that's ridiculous. However, if you do have poker chips in your house, let's see how we can use them to teach kids how to learn math. In fact, at the poker table, many adults do this already, and they're actually working on number sense. So here's an activity we can use with our kids to help them build that number sense, to help them build the familiarity of anchors to 5 and 10. And here's what it looks like. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stack that up, and then find another stack that's the same height. So let's go into here and say, okay, where is the same height? Those are not the same. That's clearly more. Oh, that's the same height. So that must mean if this stack is 5, then this stack must be 5 also. And that's going to really help our students to understand that anchor to 5. And then once we get to that anchor to 5, we can say, well, I know 5 and 5 is 10. I don't even have to count all of those. A lot of students at this age, at kindergarten, first grade, second grade, need to count all the chips. But we want to help them to understand, well, if I know one is 5 and the other is 5, and I combine them both, I don't need to count them each time. And I know this is 10. And then I can take it a step further and say, well, if that's 10, where is another 10? And I can come into here and say, well, let's see here. Nope, there's 10, because they're the same height. And again, I'm teaching them the skills. I don't need to count all 10 again, because I know that if this was 10 and these are the same height, that also must be 10. So 10 and 10 is 20. That's something I can teach my kindergarten and first grade students to do to help them understand that anchoring to 5 and 10. It's a simple activity, but a lot of children love playing with the chips. In fact, a lot of adults do too. Something about that sound, I just love it. So something else we can do with our poker chips at home is we can help students to understand the idea of more and less, and then that will help develop into addition and subtraction. So here's what that might look like. I might show a child a stack of red chips and then a stack of white chips. And I might ask, which one has more? And here I'm building the vocabulary of more and less, and I can clearly see there's more here and less here, and that's a great introductory piece to say, okay, which one has more? And then I can make it even a little step further and say, okay, now, if I look at this, and without changing all the chips, which one has more, which one has less? We can continue to have that conversation about how much is more and how much is less, and does it matter what way they're formatted? Does it matter which way they're stacked? And then we can go back to our pile, our stacks, and now I can move from which one has more to how much more is there in the white stack, or how much less is there in the red stack. What this task does is it helps our children to understand the numeric values, not just more, but how much more, in a nice, natural way. And then we can help our children to understand, I don't need to count all the chips, I can just find out how many more are there. Well, here, these are the same size stacks, and I have 3 more chips that work, so there's 3 more white chips than red chips. And I can begin to think about, okay, can I make some equations? Can I make some addition and subtraction equations? Another great activity we can do with poker chips is having students just sort the chips. And what we can do is we can tell our children, I want you to sort these chips, and see what they do. And I can use this activity to help students begin to see there's categories of things, and we can sort things into different categories and then begin to compare size. It's a simple activity, but many kids really love it, and it will really help their number sense skills. Something else we can do with poker chips is we can ask our children, how many poker chips are in this stack? And we can see how they're processing that. Are they counting every single one? Are they doing every single one? Or are they beginning to see patterns? And maybe they're beginning to see, hey, maybe I can separate it into groups of 5. And if your child can begin to realize I've got 3 groups of 5, we can then begin skip counting 5, 10, 15. And I didn't have to count all the chips. I'm helping students to build that efficiency. If they don't happen to do that and they just count all, don't worry, that's very normal. But what we can do as parents is we can begin to think, okay, can I help them to see things in different ways? Can I help them to be flexible? And that might look like me helping them to break one group into 5 and then asking questions like, if there's 5 here, how many are here? How do you know that? And beginning to ask our children those questions will help them develop their own thinking and their own understanding. And then after practicing with 5 and 5 and 10 and 10, we can begin to present problems like this. How many white chips do I have altogether? And I'm going to allow them to count them all, but I'm going to encourage them to think, hey, wait a minute, if I know that's 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, I can begin to count by tens even at those younger ages. And when they're ready for that next level, we can begin talking about chips having different values, but let's not push that too much. Let's not yet get into, this is a $25 chip, this is a $10 chip. We don't need to get into that quite yet. At this early stage, we really want to use the chips for counting, for making the anchor to 5 and making the anchor to 10 to help students build their understanding.